Yo, what's up? This is Gary A. Swaby, and you're now listening to a special discussion about Red Dead Redemption 2 and the game's story mode. We're going to be talking, specifically spoiler related stuff, just because we really wanted to delve deep into, this game and this story. So I'm here with Mr. Edward Velazquez. How you doing, Ed?
Doing good, man.
Cool. So yeah, our Patreon people will be the first ones to hear this, by the way. So, it's gonna go up there first, and then we'll release it on YouTube eventually for everyone else to hear. But yeah, man, I mean, Red Dead Redemption 2 was my personal choice for Game of the Year in 2018. I don't remember if it was yours too, Ed, was it?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So there you go. It's both of our Game of the Year. So we definitely wanted to highlight this game a bit more and talk about some of the things we really enjoyed about it and some of the things we didn't like so much in terms of the story. So as everyone knows, the game launched and there was no online mode initially. It was just story mode, and that's what Rockstar tends to do best. Now, when I started the game, like, I wasn't expecting it to blow me away much because I had played the first game and that didn't really captivate me all the way through. And I even ended up quitting the first Red Dead Redemption, like halfway through or something. I know what happens at the end, but I don't know, I just never felt compelled to finish that game. But I will say that this one had me hooked, like, from the very start, and I loved the cinematic presentation of it all. So, Ed, I have to ask you, like, going into this game, what were you expecting? And, did the game grip you right away, or did it take some time and development for you to really get stuck into it?
Um, well, I guess unlike you, I actually did like Red Dead Redemption 1 a lot. I kind of did myself a disservice because I didn't go back and revisit Red Dead Redemption 1, and it's been like 8 years from apart from both games. Like, I should have probably gone on YouTube and watched the story recap or something. And I didn't do that until uh, the end or the beginning of epilogue 1 of Red Dead Redemption 2. So there was points where I'm like, wait, what? Like, because there's things that are left open ended in this game that are finished in Red Dead Redemption 1. But yeah, this game grabbed me from the very beginning. Um, this game was kind of like a roller coaster of, like, grabbing me and kind of, um, I felt detached at times. Like, it had just a middle part that was just, it was kind of, I was kind of losing steam with the game for a little bit, and then it picked right back up. And it picked right back up, like, it very emotionally. I wouldn't say I cried, but my eyes got watery in this game. And no game has ever done that for me. No game has ever done that for me. So, yeah, I mean, now that game is just great storytelling. So that's kind of why it was my game of the year. I don't know if I answered your question, but
Oh yeah,
yeah.
for sure. And yeah, so, like, I was going to talk next about what the game really does right, and you kind of, brought it up. So let's get straight into it. So, I mean, for me personally, like, I understand what you're saying about sometimes the pace was a bit slow. Sometimes it really picked up. Like, I think towards the start, it's the fascination of the graphics and all the things you can do. It kind of hooks you in, and
Yeah,
then towards the middle, like you said, it does get a bit slow. But
a
then,
little long-winded.
yeah, exactly. But then once the story does start to pick up and things start to get emotional, and then towards the latter half of the game, things get super emotional. And we're of course talking about the fact that Arthur gets tuberculosis. And yeah, that, it leaves a big impact on you after controlling the character for so long and coming so far with him, and then he gets this disease, and I like how it was implemented. Now, being someone who's sick myself, like I have a lifelong sickness, and I really liked how they did that and how they implemented it, and how Arthur reacts once he actually is sick. Like, it's like things you do in the game have an impact on his health. Like, he reacts to things, and that really stood out to me, and I really enjoyed how they did it, and it's something that you don't typically see. You don't typically see that in a lot of other games, like characters being sick and having diseases and things like that. Now, it wasn't specifically a game mechanic or anything. Like, it wasn't like you could treat it in any way, or sometimes it affects your gameplay, but only briefly, and it's like more of a scripted thing. It's not like you could be in the middle of a gunfight and he just starts coughing or something. Like, it's all scripted basically. But just having it be a factor to Arthur's character was kind of cool to see, to me personally. And but what did you think about how they implemented that tuberculosis story?
Yeah, man, it was very emotional, and like we kind of described, this game is so long-winded that you kind of forget some of the beginning parts, and when he goes to the doctor and he tells the doctor he got tuberculosis from beating a man for like a few pennies, it remember, like, oh yeah, like I remember how he got tuberculosis, and it kind of like makes it it gives it that almost emotional punch that that little family, that older man who gave him tuberculosis, they were like kind of like a small family, like John Marston, like it was the mom, the dad, and the kid, and they're just trying to make it in the Western times. And it kind of just had that emotional punch, like, oh, you got tuberculosis doing bad shit, pretty much. And and yeah, like yeah, I just really liked how they did the tuberculosis thing. It kind of set the pace for, like, that's what made the game pick up near the end. It's like, okay, I know something is going to happen to Arthur at this point. And it kind of made you care, like, at that point. And it also just brings Arthur's character arc, like, full circle from the beginning. He's just a gunman outlaw, but near the end, he's trying to do better. Like, he knows his time is ticking, so might as well use that time doing good things as opposed to bad things. And I just really like that, and that's kind of where I got like emotional, specifically in the scene where he's talking to the nun at the train station. Do you remember that scene?
Yeah, I believe
he's at a train station and he talks to the sister or whatever, and he's kind of just telling her that that he's gonna die soon, and he kind of admits that he's afraid to die. He doesn't know what's next, like what happens after you die, and that's kind of what the fear that he has. And just the animation in that cutscene, that's probably one of the best cutscenes I've ever seen in a video game. Like, I rewatched it on YouTube a couple times after I played the game. But yeah, I just really like that arc of him getting tuberculosis. Yeah, very well done.
Yeah, and definitely coming from Rockstar too, I think it was great, because it's like in most of their games, you're doing non-stop crime, and like there's never a major consequence. I mean, of course you have cops and bounties and things like that, but it's like you as the gamer, like when you beat the game, there's no real way of you paying for what you've done or anything. Like, you're not really punished or anything. But in this game, it's like, like you said, Arthur, by doing all the dirt he was doing, he got, sick. And that really shows, it teaches you that there are consequences, and, the universe will work against you if you continue to do these negative things. And then, like you said, once he knows he's got tuberculosis and he's going to die, it kind of changes his demeanor, and he starts, doing more good than bad. Like I remember a few kind of missions where he's supposed to collect money or something like that, and he just lets the people go away, because like he lets them get away, because it's like, these people have their lives to live ahead of them, like, so it completely changes his outlook, and that was really good to see. And considering Rockstar is all about making criminals like GTA and stuff like that, like cold-blooded criminals who have no remorse. It was just good to see like a different side of the character like that. So they did that really well.
Yeah, that's very correct, I guess, is what you said about their characters. And you play these games like Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead, and you do all these bad things, but there is no consequences. And in this game, we actually saw a character with consequences, and that's kind of just the power of Rockstar. They put their characters first,
Yeah,
and their storytelling first. Like, they're bold enough to kill the guy that you just spent 40 plus hours with.
yeah. And although because in GTA 5, if I'm sure everyone's beat that game by now, but there are choices you can make to whereas who lives and who dies with the three main characters. But it's never like, it doesn't feel as impactful as Arthur in this game dying at the end, getting sick and stuff. Like in GTA 5, everything really feels super slapstick throughout. Like it never feels too serious, but this game just had a wider range of emotions attached to it, and I hope that they continue doing storytelling like that, especially in GTA, because it would be great to see a GTA game with storytelling like what we saw in Red Dead Redemption 2.
I agree.
Yep. So I mean, that's one thing they really nailed in this game. But let's talk about something that was very questionable and was probably like the worst part of the game. So there's a part in the game after one of the most action-packed missions, which is like the bank robbery, and I forget the name of that town. It's like the big town.
Saint Denis.
Saint Denis, yeah, that's it. So they rob the bank, and then things go left, and they get ran out of the town, if you will, and they end up taking a boat, and there's some sort of accident, and then they get stranded on this island.
Guam, yeah, Guam, right?
Guam, yeah. Is that like that's a fictional name, right? It's not like
I believe it's a real island in Cuba.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. You learn something every day. But yeah, so they end up on Guam, and yeah, like for me that was the worst part of the game. And although you don't, you can run through all those missions in like an hour or less, but it really slowed things down for me. And I was at that point when that happened, I was a bit like, I just want this game to end at this point. But that was actually before Arthur gets sick. So once he gets sick, that adds like that's when the game it grips you again. But before that point, you have this the island of Guam, and it just really slowed everything down, and I just wanted the game to end. So what did you feel about that chapter of the game? And was it as bad as I'm making out, or am I bugging? What?
No, I think I agree with you. It was a really bad chapter. It almost served as kind of like a breather. But I remember uh, from my recollection, um, I was kind of feeling already like before that chapter. I was feeling like, all right, like let's let's go here. Like let's start to pick it up. And then that mission was a good mission, and you think like, okay, now this game's gonna get going, and then there's just like this stop in the pace with this chapter. It was just really not good. It felt like a chore, like just having to do these missions. And I just kind of just did them like, okay, come on, let's wrap it up. Like where are you taking me, Rockstar? None of the characters in that island were compelling, really, and I don't really understand what it did for any of the characters exactly, except I guess it just kind of created more of a rift between Arthur and Dutch, but I feel like that rift was already happening back when, because I believe they killed that Italian dude from Saint Denis before that, correct? Remember
Yeah.
he fed him to the alligator, and I felt like that was a scene where like Arthur realizes like, whoa, like Dutch is a crazy ass motherfucker. So when they're in Guam, like I guess it did that even more, but not not to the extent that the previous uh, disagreement did. So I just don't know what the whole Guam chapter was really about. But like you said, it did pick up once we realized that Arthur um, had tuberculosis, and right after that chapter, it's like, okay, we're back.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's like also for me personally, I'm not a fan of because there are other games that do this, but like when in games like this where progression is an important thing, and you're buying guns and collecting all these different items and things that you collect a lot of things throughout the your playthrough of the game, and then it's suddenly just stripped away from you, and you have like minimal items on you. And sometimes there's a lot of games that do that, where they have like a chapter of the game where they just strip everything away from you.
Yeah.
And I don't like that because it really does just slow things down, and it's just an annoyance. It's a pet peeve for me in gaming personally. Um, and I think it's just like a cheap way for them to kind of raise the stakes or transition the story a little bit. And I guess that's what they did here, because after such a big mission with the bank robbery, I guess they needed a transition so that once the team got back into America, they would need to change camps again, and then that's when the whole thing with Arthur being sick kicks in and stuff. So I guess they just use that as a transition thing, and yeah, I mean, it just didn't work for me personally, and I could have easily quit playing the game at that point, but luckily I stuck with it.
Yeah, same. It was getting to the point where it's like, okay, I've spent this much time, I have to complete it.
Yeah,
But yeah, that chapter was just not good.
yeah. I'm just glad it didn't drag on longer than it did. Like it's like 3 or 4 missions or something like that. So you can run through it, within like an hour. But yeah, definitely slowed the game down. But that's just one of the things I think that the game did wrong. But was there anything else in throughout the game that you thought was a bad point?
Mm, no, not particularly. I think there's like bad points as far as like I guess the gameplay wise, but yeah, that's something else. That's a different story, I guess.
Cool, yeah. So I mean, I guess like the only thing left to really say is like I wanted to ask a question. Like, is this the best written Rockstar game? Period. Now, I mean, we've
Yeah.
had LA Noire, we've had Max Payne 3, we've had San Andreas, GTA 5, GTA 4, you know, all the GTAs. What other games they had? They've had a few things. So, I mean, overall, you would say this is the best Rockstar game, like story rise.
Story, yes. Like it has the emotion in there. It has just compellingness, despite the Guam and maybe the epilogue to some extent for some people. Um, but I just feel like, yeah, like especially when you consider Red Dead Redemption 1 and how they bring everything just full circle. Um, like that's just beautiful storytelling. Like I kind of think in my head when I play like this game, like I wish there was a movie. Like I know that we don't need a movie because the game tells it,
Mhm.
better than a movie could ever do. But I would just like a movie that does something similar to this, where it's like, you know, uh, where we get a prequel after the sequel, I guess.
Yeah. So you would say that this is even better than the first Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. And speaking of that first Red Dead, because I forgot to bring this up too. So John Marston, of course, is the protagonist in the first Red Dead Redemption, and at the end of this game, we're given an epilogue. Now, we differ in opinion on this. Me personally, I feel like it was unnecessary to have such a long epilogue, especially after such a long and draining game as it is. Like, it's emotionally draining, even. So to throw us in an epilogue with John Marston, and you're after doing all these bank robberies and having all these amazing gunfights and everything, you're playing as John Marston. You have his family, and he's trying to now live an honest life, and he's gone to a farm and he's shoveling up cow shit and building fences and doing mundane tasks and things like that. So
Well,
I wasn't a fan of it, but you was, so go ahead.
first of all, the name is Jim Milton. All right.
Yeah, that's the fake name.
Yeah, that's John Marston's alias, so he don't get caught. But yeah, man, after I beat the Arthur story arc in Red Dead 2, I've heard a lot of things about the epilogue, about how slow it is, and you have to just do farm activities, and I kind of set that game aside, to be honest. I was like, okay, and then I started playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and then I don't know why, I just kind of picked it back up. I probably took like a month break from Red Dead, and I picked it back up, and I think that's probably what everybody needed, because you're going from such an emotional ending for Arthur, and then you go into this. I can kind of understand why people would feel like like how you did, but I guess my break, it really helped me. um I just kind of understood the epilogues from a story standpoint. Like, this is John Marston pretty much trying to change, but one of the little I guess one of the, what's the word I want to say here, one of the themes, I guess, to the game would be that people don't really change. You can't change who you are. Like, if that's who you are, you kind of have to stay true to that.
Mhm.
And John Marston, he's trying to change. He's trying to be something he's not. And that's kind of what we're playing. Like, when we're doing the farming and picking up shit, like, we're supposed to feel that way. We're supposed to feel like, why are we doing this? Like, that's not who this character is. And in a way, the game's telling you that as well. Like, you no matter what John Marston does, trouble keeps finding him. Like, he can't help but to help the people out in the farm when those bandits come through. Like, that's in him. It's in him to fight off bandits and gunslingers and shit like that. So I just really understood that point of the story arc, and that's kind of why I liked it from a story standpoint. Maybe not from the gameplay standpoint, but the story, I really enjoy those two epilogues. And it kind of serves as like the beginning of Red Dead Redemption 1. You know, we build that house that we see in Red Dead Redemption 1, that Abigail and what's this kid's name?
I forgot.
Yeah, whatever that kid's name is. Yeah, that's their house, you know? And it kind of also gives us a kind of conclusion to Red Dead 2. You know, later on we find Micah and we see Dutch, like hidden out in the cold mountains, and you know, Micah gets killed, and we see that, and we see Dutch, you know, go away.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Now, yeah,
I mean, I really liked it.
Yeah, like, although I wasn't a fan of the epilogue, mainly because it was so long, I do recognize that there are meaningful scenes in it. Like, you know, all the bonding moments between John and his son, like, those were good scenes. And, you know, there's a few good things sprinkled out, like the date and the proposal and things like that. And yeah, Micah at the end, seeing Micah and Dutch again, that made it worth it. I just wish, you know, I didn't have to play so many hours just to get to that point again. But yeah, that made it worth it to end off on that, because, you know, obviously after what happened with Arthur, between Arthur and Micah, you wanted to see, you know, this character Micah pay for what he did. So that definitely made it worth it to stick to the end. And, you know, that mysterious Dutch scene with him walking off and stuff. And I didn't even remember that he was actually in the first Red Dead Redemption either. So you actually pointed that out after, you know, we both beat the game. So that's a pretty cool, you know, way to end it off, with Dutch walking off, considering that he shows up again in you know, Red Dead Redemption. So that was cool to see. I just feel like they could have shaved off a lot of the missions that happen in, you know, the two epilogues. I
actually disagree. I feel like a lot of the missions in the epilogue were kind of better than the ones in the actual game. Like, all the missions that you do with Sadie and kind of bounty hunting and stuff, I thought those were great.
Yo, like that mission where you're fighting a bear or something, like, come on, man. Like, you really liked that? Like,
yeah, because hold on, you're not really fighting a bear.
Like, we already did that with Arthur as well, by the way.
Okay, and you did that at the very beginning of the game. Like, and it wasn't necessarily the bear, like, fighting the bear. It was that, like, you know, you guys are out there bounty hunting, and you kind of have to, like, you know, creep down. We didn't really have any missions like that, where you have to be stealthy and kind of, like, you know, you're going through the woods, and then, you know, a bear encounter. Like, there was no mission like that.
Man, there was so many missions where you had to just, like, with Sadie, where you just had to, like, hunt, like, these useless scrubs that mean nothing. Like, why? Like, it just felt meaningless. You're
making honest money.
Money for what?
To pay the loan of the house, man. You didn't hear the loan guy, the bank guy? He was like, "Oh, we own you now."
I mean, yeah, I understand that, but they could have summarized that in less missions. They could have got that point across.
Like, when you caught that one Mexican dude and he breaks out of jail and you have to go get him again.
Yeah, that one was good. That one was good.
And he's on the boat and you have to aim at him to come back. The other one, Damn, what was the other one? Oh, the one with the Skinner brothers and they capture Uncle and they're like kind of cooking him, roasting him,
Oh yeah.
and you got to go there with Charles. Like those are good missions, man.
I could have did without that one, but
Uh,
yeah, it's whatever. But I mean, yeah, I mean, regardless of if I like the epilogue or not, I recognize that it is relevant to fleshing out, more of the story between both games. So, there is a lot of good in there, and especially, if you want to see what happens with some of the characters later on, it's worth sticking with. I just feel like it could have been a lot shorter, especially since the main game was so long itself. That's my only thing. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much like all I have to say. I agree it is the best written Rockstar game to date, and everyone should experience it. And I'm hoping that Rockstar bring this level of storytelling to the next GTA, because I feel like we haven't had a GTA game that's been taken as seriously as this game, and this game has emotional highs and lows, and I want to see that in a GTA game. Like, I feel like we should have this level of storytelling in those games, because I guess the GTA games are seen more as like comedic slapstick kind of tones, like they're not taken too seriously. But if there was a GTA game with this level of writing, I feel like it would be phenomenal. So I'm hoping they give it a try with GTA 6. But is there any final thoughts that you want to share about the game overall before we get out of here?
nah. My only like gripe with I guess something about the game was that I had no idea when that little ending was coming, and now I kind of want to go back and do like a lot of missions that I left behind. And once you get to the epilogue, you really can't do any of those missions, and that's kind of like a bummer. So I don't know how I'm gonna. And like this
Did
game
you
is
have
too
like
big.
did you have any manual saves? Because if you like had manual saves, you could go back and
I
then
think I did, so that's what I'm gonna do. But I didn't want to. I didn't want to do that until I beat the epilogues because I didn't want like to overwrite my autosave with the old file.
yeah.
So yeah, I'm definitely want to do that. Go back and do some of that stuff. And I guess like also like I found myself hunting a lot in the epilogues because now that the game's kind of over, you have time to do all the hunting and stuff. So I'm gonna keep hunting. I guess I'll keep playing the game.
Yeah.
Do you know if they're doing any like downloadable content of any kind, like story wise?
I doubt it. I have a feeling they'll only do online stuff, to be honest.
Mm,
But I mean, if they do story DLC, I'm there for it.
same. I don't know what they would do though. Like, I mean, they didn't even do anything for GTA, so
Yeah.
you're probably right. I wouldn't expect anything as far as story.
Yeah, they should get back to doing that though, because Ballad of Gay Tony and the Lost and Damned, those were great expansions. So they should go back to doing that. But I think they're more focused on online now, and that's unfortunate because in my personal opinion, the Red Dead Online looks trash. But that's just me.
I don't agree.
Oh, so you be playing that?
I played a little bit of it. I was just joking. I wouldn't call it trash, but it's definitely not like the story mode.
Yeah. Yeah, that it looks like GTA Online with a Red Dead skin, to be honest. But yeah, and I'm not saying GTA Online is trash because that game, like, I used to actually play that and it was fun to a degree. But I feel like they should have did something else. Like they should have, reinvented the wheel a little bit with this one. But they just chose to do the same thing. But
Yeah, I was just doing a lot of the missions in the GTA Online. I didn't really play any of the competitive modes. I just kind of did some of the missions, and there were, I think there wasn't that many because I think I'm at like 80% done with them, and I'm only done like probably like two handful worth of missions.
wait, you talking about GTA Online or Red Dead?
No, not Red Dead.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure they'll add a lot more content to it though eventually, so we'll see if it evolves or not. But but yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the discussion. We definitely want to hear more thoughts from people listening to this. Let us know what you thought were the good points and the bad points of Red Dead, and if you would like to see Rockstar, continue this depth of writing in GTA, and things like that. Just let us know what you guys think. Let us know if there's any other games you would like us to do these, deep dives on. And shouts to all the Patreon people. You guys will get to hear this way ahead of everyone else. We thank you all for your support. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We're about to do the co-op now, so peace out, people.
Peace.